I used to work in Saltcoats, Princess Trust team leader just down the road about 10 years ago, and I've still worked in Saltcoats. I work fairly locally with people that have had head injuries and try and help people either get back to work or go back to study or retrain or work in the community in some way. But a large part of my job over the last couple of years has been benefits forms. It's been employment support allowance forms, and it's been disability living allowance forms. And what I can tell you from my experience is that the system is designed to take away as many people's money as possible, no matter how deserving any of us might consider them to be. So I've learned how to do it, but it takes a real fight. It takes a real fight. So, and the welfare system now, I think everybody knows, it's being hacked and hacked and hacked. There's more and more cuts coming. They've said they're going to cut another 12 billion off the welfare. So who knows what's going to happen. My job, the current job that I do, is likely to get a lot more difficult. And Jen said there about people being suicidal. I have had clients of mine suicidal, being told they have no money, they're not going to get any money, they're not entitled to any money. I'm amazed actually at people who've been told that they're fit to work. And anyone spending a minute with that person would know that that's not the case. So I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time talking facts and figures. It's very tempting to do that. But seeing as I'm talking to a room rather than one-to-one and we've got questions and answers, I'm going to save all the facts and figures I have. I've got loads coming out my ears. I'd like to say I went out to South Africa with my mum and dad in 1981. They were wanting to avoid Margaret Thatcher coming in. So we went out to apartheid South Africa instead, which was, it was an education for me. I came back in 1996. So that means that I was there for the freeing of Nelson Mandela, and I was there for the big elections in 1994. And whether people know or not, they probably do, because it was a global event. There were 3 days. The election took 3 days to happen, and you had to queue. I queued for hours. There was long queues down the street to get into your voting booths, and the atmosphere was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. The sense of relief, the weight leaving, the openness, and the sense of possibility. Now, South Africa's got huge challenges. It's a huge country, and it's got a legacy of apartheid, and we can go into all that colonialism that will continue. They will continue to struggle with that. But coming back to Scotland, I rather naively thought I'll come back to a wee country and there'll be no racism, I thought. And then I had a conversation with my gran, and I realised that's just not the case. It's not like that here either. I thought Scotland is a brilliant wee country. It's just a great wee country to be in. And if I get a chance, when I take holidays, I go to the Highlands and the Islands. And I absolutely love this country. It is wonderful. What amazes me though is that a lot of people living here don't know it, or don't act like they know that it's a great wee country. There's a lot of kind of head down, trudging through it, better go on with it. It's all a bit grim sometimes, and not a great idea about what Scotland is in the eyes of the world. If you go somewhere else, and people will have had this experience, you go overseas, people will say, oh, you're from Scotland, with recognition and a wee bit of excitement and appreciation for what Scotland means in the world. But Scottish people don't always have the sense of what Scotland is in the world. I was going to say something else, but I'll leave that sort of thing to Gary. He's asked me to. But it's just this attitude. I read a quote the other day of Winston Churchill talking about small nations and their contributions to the world, and said, with the exception of Greece, no country in the world has contributed as much as Scotland. So our history is amazing. We will always have our history. It's also terrible, and that's partly why that we are in the state that we're in. For decades now, there's been the brain drain. People leave. If you've got anything about you and you want to get on in the world, you better go somewhere else. That to me is terrible. That is terrible. When I was in South Africa, I remember somebody saying there's a self-destructiveness about Scottish people, and I was quite young at the time, and I thought, I wonder what he means. I know what he means now. It means that if you've got something in you and you want to get on and you want to do something, and then you're thwarted, or it's not for you, or you're told it's not for you, you can't do that. You don't believe in yourself. You don't just carry on not believing in yourself. There's a wee self-destruction there. So why do we have the health problems and the social problems that we have in this country? A lot of it just comes down to as simple as that self-belief, the loss of self-belief, and having been told, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. I was going to talk about other things, but this morning I got really angry reading this Guardian article that said, oh, your economy's not as good as being claimed because the money's going to London and the money's going to Norway and to Japan so Scotland's generating huge amounts of wealth, but it's all going elsewhere. So that's why you can't be independent. So does that mean that we're not actually a patient on life support getting drip-fed cash? Does that mean that we're actually being sucked? The wealth is being sucked out of us. The best people, I'm not saying we're not all the best people too, but the best people in terms of their qualifications, their abilities, their skills, off they go. How about we wake up and we realise what this is all about? I can't believe that the same experience of what I had in South Africa when we were queuing to vote isn't what people have, the chance that we have now to change the road that we're going down. How come people aren't awake? We had a Japanese journalist over to the wee talk that we gave on Thursday there, and he said, this is history, that's why he's here, this is history, and it's really exciting. I wish everyone could share his sense of history and the sense of excitement. History is going to record whatever we do on the 18th of September. Whatever we decide, history will record. So are we going to confirm that everything that's happened and is continuing to happen is okay? All the cuts, all the misery, the increasing misery that we all know is the reality, the downward trend for ordinary folk and the upward trend for the elite, for the super rich, that they will become even more super rich. Are we going to confirm? That to me is what a no vote confirms. Whereas a yes vote, the energy of yes is possibilities. You look into the arguments, the direction of travel is for a yes vote. Anyone who looks into it, unless you're wearing blinkers and you'll have to remove those for yourself, because no one else can take them off you. But if you're willing to look at the facts are biased in favour of a yes vote. The media landscape is biased in favour of no. So if you leave it up to the BBC and the general media to tell you whether you should vote yes or no, well, I'm afraid the landscape is biased towards no. But look into it for yourself or speak to anyone who's got facts and figures coming out of their ears. You will find Scotland needs to become independent if it's going to take advantage of its position. If we can have put policies in place that will do what's best for us, whatever's going to make things turn out well for us or prevent more harm from happening either to our people or to our environment, we should do that. We can't do that right now. We've not been able to do that. The position that Guardian article paints, I recommend people actually look at it. They didn't write it to try to persuade people to vote yes. They're saying, oh, but this is why that wealth isn't yours. But read it, and people should be angry. People should be angry. You mentioned Jura. I was on Jura years ago, and an Indian group, Kingfisher, bought Jura Distillery, right? Jura Distillery. It would have gone out of business. Now, is that because Scotland's too wee and too poor and too stupid to manage its own assets, or is that because we've lived under neoliberal policies which have said the market will provide, the market gives, and the market takes away, and it's really just now taking away and taking away and taking away and taking away. Industry's been dismantled, the financial sector has been liberated. Are we going to carry on down that road, or are we going to go down the road that we need to and must go down, the road where human beings matter, where it's about us, where the country's about us, not about how much money's flowing through, but how well are people doing? How are people getting on? I could go on and on about that. But the quote that I heard just yesterday, it was from a Scottish comedian, Frankie Boyle. I could quote him on many things and it would be terribly controversial. But I think this line was, if we wake up on the 19th of September and we voted yes, we'll feel like Ripley when she's just fired the alien out of the airlock. It's a way, something bigger and stronger than us that has been trying to convert us into resources and raw materials for its own ends, for its own use, its own purposes. That will be gone. And we will be able to take a breath, take stock. What have we got? Where are we at? Where do we want to go from here? What do we want to do and what do we not want to do? Let's be brilliant in our own country. Why not? Why not?